June City Unified. I'd like to welcome you to the June City Unified School Board meeting. Welcome, and those of you in Zoom land, welcome. So we're going to take a roll call vote. Roll call because I forgot to do it. So Laura, would you?
Member Buckaboli. Here. Member Domi. Here. Member Ruska.
Here.
Member Pretty is absent. Member Pulte.
Yes.
Member Takar is absent. President Riley. Thank you.
Okay, would you all stand and join us in saluting the flag? And if you have your accent, you can move it. Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board, is there any items that you want reorganized on the agenda? Certainly. There's nothing to report out of closed session. Oh, is this? Jen, could you read? Yes, please.
Alright, items posted on the agenda notice to the public under the Brown Act. The board shall entertain comments on any item appearing on the posted agenda. As the board discusses agenda items, audience participation is permitted. Generally, the president will ask board members for their remarks before recognizing requests to speak from the audience. The president's discretion, agenda items may be considered in other than numerical order. The board will respect the rights of the public to express their viewpoints on matters within the board's jurisdiction. However, comments that are defamatory or that violate the privacy rights of any student or any students or individuals may not be protected by law. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Items not appearing on the agenda notice to the public. The Brown Act, specifically Government Code Section 54954.2, provides that no action or discussion shall be taken on any item unless it is adequately described in the timely posted agenda. Accordingly, though the public may comment on matters within the board's jurisdiction that do not appear on the agenda, the board cannot respond to such comments without running the risk of deliberating or initiating discussion on topics not properly before the board. Given the prohibitions set forth in the Brown Act and the risk associated with responding to public comments, the board does not respond to the community's questions or comments. The board will respect the rights of the public to express their viewpoints on matters within the board's jurisdiction. However, comments that are defamatory or that violate the privacy rights of any students or individuals may not be protected by law. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board.
Thank you. We have one speaker, Mr. Lowe.
Good evening, district staff and board members. My name is Brian Lowe. I'm here concerning my mileage that was submitted to River Valley High School on August 10th, 2022. It's my understanding my mileage form was forwarded to the district office for approval. The mileage document on the form is from 2021-22 River Valley boys basketball season. The total mileage on this form is 1,272 miles. I was never made aware of the mileage being paid for using your own vehicle for district business. I do understand being the head coach on the bench for River Valley High School is district business. The fuel cost alone out of pocket to me during the above time frame was around $350 to $400. The reason for all the mileage, there was no district transportation available by bus or van for our varsity basketball team. I cannot stress this enough. River Valley High School and its entire staff does a terrific job in meeting all the needs of their student athletes and coaching staff. But unfortunately, they have no control over transportation dilemma that the entire athletic programs face throughout the district. I'm also aware of the statement at the bottom of the mileage form that states the following. The fiscal year ends June 30th. All mileage must be submitted by this date. Has this district ever notified coaches of the mileage form? On August 23rd, 2022, I was informed by River Valley High School that my mileage form was turned over to the HR department in the district office. Is this normal procedure? Has my mileage form been signed by the district administrator? I currently have not been contacted by anyone in the district office. Within board policy 3350, travel expenses, it states the superintendent or designee shall approve expense claims only upon verifying that all necessary documentation is provided and that all expenses are appropriate and related to district business. The June 30th deadline does not apply to me, as I was never made aware of such a form or for mileage being paid for district business. Throughout the month of August, I've been in contact with River Valley High School concerning payment for my mileage. River Valley has been helping me in getting this resolved, but again, they have no control over the time frame on getting reimbursed for mileage. What is the standard time frame for getting reimbursed for mileage? As of today, it has been 24 business days, a total of 35 days since my mileage form was submitted. Please resolve this and issue me a check for my mileage for the 21-22 basketball season. I'm thanking you, the district staff members and board members, in advance for your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reed, could you arrange to get with Mr. Lowe? Absolutely. To answer his questions and resolve this, please? Absolutely. Thank you. Student reports.
Well, we don't have any students today.
Employee recognition.
So, Mr. Reed.
Good evening to the Board of Trustees, staff, and audience here this evening. This evening, we are initiating practice with plan to repeat and continue each board meeting. The HR department has launched a district-wide effort to connect, appreciate, and recognize staff for the purpose of promoting excellence in our workforce. In your handouts, you'll find a paper entitled YCUSD Employee Recognition. That handout summarizes the tenets of the plan or program. So connecting requires strategic activities designed to develop and sustain workplace relationships and a culture of teamwork. A, and our plan is called a CARE plan, so connecting is the C. A stands for appreciation, which requires a general demonstration of gratitude for our staff and is often displayed in reference to a specific job classification, such as Secretary's Day, Nurse's Day, etc. Recognition leads to an environment that realizes overall excellence by increasing productivity, promoting retention of top performers, and encouraging ongoing improvement. As a district, we will continue to support and expect our managers to be strategic about the building and maintaining of a positive school and department culture, or cultures. As a district, we will continue to support our site and department leaders to hold appreciation activities and events throughout the year. And finally, as a district, we will be updating, adding, and revising efforts to recognize staff for the unique and extraordinary actions taken in alignment with our school or district goals, objectives, and mission. Tonight, we begin a tradition of regularly recognizing staff members who have taken unique or extraordinary actions in support of our programs for students. Each board meeting moving forward, we will take 5 to 10 minutes to recognize staff who have been called out by their colleagues for their actions. A manager will present each staff member, and we have a certificate to present on the board's behalf. So with that, I'd like to share the lectern with you're the closest. So let's start by you are up first. If you want to have the person you recognize and come stand with you. Yes. Here to recognize Sal. It's an honor and privilege, obviously, to recognize Salvador Gonzalez for his outstanding work. Sal started the district in 2000, and at that time he was at Yuba City High School as a custodian, and for 12 years of that he was actually head custodian for that site, which is probably the most challenging site we have in the world, head custodian in the district. And then at Yuba City High School, Sal did an excellent job mentoring custodians. From that group that he's mentored, developed,
we had a large group of custodians come out of that school site and placed in leadership roles throughout the district, thanks to Sal's leadership. And then over this last year, Sal was promoted to the role of a lead custodian. And in this role, he's provided excellent support to over 85 custodians in the district. And that's providing training, scheduling, as well as just providing assistance whenever the site calls. Sal will just drop everything, go to the site, and need assistance, he's there to help them. And this last summer, Sal's also managed major projects, which included refinishing the wood floor gyms. And he's got a crew together, he scheduled out there and stripped and redid wood floors, excellent job. And he also coordinated two crews to do carpet extraction at the school sites. And he managed that throughout the district. And of course, he moved furniture and moved furniture. And then he moved some more furniture. So Sal's been a great addition to the facilities department. We really appreciate his efforts.
Just a minute. The family member, would you like to take a picture of Sal getting the?
Sal, take a picture.
I got this.
Come on, Sal, take a picture.
I got your back, buddy.
Get your studio down.
Step in front. Come on, wipe your feet.
You're the important one in the family. He knows
There you go.
Stand in front. In front. You need to move that podium forward.
There we go. There we go.
You know he's only 4 people.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I have 2 departments, so I'm going to start with warehouse. So I'm first going to recognize Jackie, your safety. So Jackie is a warehouse specialist, and she's been with the district for 4 years. She's responsible for coordinating deliveries for all YCUSD schools each week. She is always positive and professional. She works tirelessly each day to ensure that all school sites in the district receive their deliveries. She's always flexible when it comes to time-sensitive tasks. Coordinating the logistics and deliveries for all YCUSD sites is a big task, and Jackie handles it with confidence and ease. We truly appreciate her can-do attitude, flexibility, and ability to interact with all individuals. So thank you.
Yeah, let's get another.
What was
She's
that?
at-
Were you a student at AK?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then I'm also the director for food service, so I'm going to recognize Heidi Long as well. Heidi's the cafeteria manager at Gray Avenue Middle School. Which also serves as a central kitchen for Bridge Street and Twin Rivers Charter. Heidi is celebrating her 10-year work anniversary this school year. She always goes above and beyond and is the first to volunteer for opportunities outside of her 180-day contracted work schedule so that we can ensure that students in our community are not going without school meals. This summer, Heidi managed Gray Avenue, which was the only kitchen that was open for the entire summer. So they worked all the way up until August 9th, and then she rolled right into the first day of school on the day. So we really appreciate her doing that. She managed that school site, which transported to multiple sites during the summer, including the library, April Lane, and and then Gray Avenue was open all summer long. So she's been our lead for the summer food service program for the past 2 years, and it's very clear that she's passionate about the work that she does. And she also empowers her staff to want to work for her. She's had a fully staffed kitchen almost the entire time that I've been with the district, so that's pretty phenomenal. Just last month, Heidi and her team served over 31,000 meals to students at Gray Avenue, Bridge Street, and Twin Rivers Charter. So Heidi is an asset to the Yuba City Unified School District, and we're grateful for her commitment to serving our students.
Yuba-Sutter comes
Congratulations to all of, oh, we have
One more.
another one?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, okay, sorry.
Sorry, you guys are like crowded in there.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, I am pleased to recognize Don Cucciarella. Don is one of my special education teachers. He has been teaching at River Valley High School since 2019. And at River Valley, he's flourished in this role. He does a wonderful job connecting with students, with staff, and there's not a kid out there Don can't connect with.
I'm trying.
And you're doing a good job. Prior to being a teacher with us, he started out being one of our substitute aides. And in that role, it was the same thing. Staff would ask for him to come back because he always does a wonderful job. This summer, Don was really instrumental in keeping our extended school year program going. We had a few people who were out, and I always knew I just called Don. In fact, I caught him one day coming home from Shasta and asked him, "Are you able to would you be able to send me tomorrow?" Of course. You know, he's just there. He goes into the class, he picks everything up, he connects with the kids. I'm so glad it's part of our team.
I'm official photographer tonight. If they not worried.
I heard that. So thank you, board members, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks to recognize 3 or 4 additional staff members and kind of take a tour around the district and take the opportunity to recognize our staff who are showing excellence in the work that they do for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Reports and information.
Thank you. So tonight we have with us Superintendent Principal Camilla Lovers and staff to talk about Clean Rivers Charter and student achievement and what's new with Clean Rivers. So welcome.
Good evening.
I think you should make her sit up here. She makes me sit up with them and everything.
There's no INT. Good evening, Superintendent Osumi and board and guests. We're pleased to be back here face to face. It's actually nice to bring back some of these things that we've had kind of on hiatus for a couple of years. So we're pleased to present our student achievement report, and I want to share the floor tonight with Chrissy Jolly, who's our assistant principal and oversees our SEL program, and then Obi Lepp, who really is the guru behind our data and assessments and looking at how we can really amp up our scores and really student achievement for all. It is an all-encompassing system. Obviously, with COVID for the last couple of years, we've certainly weathered that storm with student achievement. As you all know, test scores are embargoed, so I'm very cognizant that what you see in front of you is just percentages of increase or decrease without numbers behind those. So, but we did want to share some of the successes we ended up having over the last 2 years. So, the first slide. Where do I point?
Just
Anywhere?
yeah.
You gotta turn it on.
It's on.
It should be on.
Arrow.
You know what? Let's just there you go.
Okay. Okay. So we did conduct the CAST last year as well as 2 years ago in the middle of COVID. So we did see a slight decrease from 2021. In 2021, school districts had the option to go with CAST and or their local assessments, which in Yuba-City would be iReady, I believe. TRCS has map data, so we also had that data that year. But we said, you know, let's see where the chips lie on this one. And so we did go ahead and administer the CAST in 2021. So what that enabled us to do was get some data for 21-22. And we did decrease slightly in ELA from 2021 to 21-22. We did increase 7.5%. So what that means is that during COVID, we were successful in closing that achievement gap and getting students successful in math again. Science was an increase, we were pleased with that, but that's still a pretty new test for the entire state. And both in 5th grade and 8th grade, we saw some increases. Now from 2018, 2019, that would have been pre-COVID. We did have some learning loss. So we had a little over 3% learning loss so before COVID to post-COVID, there was some learning loss in ELA, a slight increase in math. So what that feels like as a school district in LEA is we were flat for 2 years, right? That's just not, it is what it is. We can celebrate that there weren't further declines, but that's where we were at TRCS. I do want to say thank you to a couple of people here. She left, but the food service program has been amazing at TRCS this year. We're so grateful for the 4-year MOU with Yuba City Unified and being able to feed all of our kids free breakfast and lunch every day. It's a beautiful salad bar, the fresh fruit. I drool over every morning, and Chelsea and her team have done a wonderful, wonderful job. So I want to say a big thank you to keeping our kids healthy and feeding them every morning so they're able to learn. And then I'm going to turn it over to Odie Left to look at our math.
Which button?
Yeah. There you go.
Good evening, my name is Obi Lev, it's a pleasure to join you. And we are looking over our MAP assessment scores. The MAP assessment is it's a program that we can subscribe to, which we do, it's from NWEA. And so we utilize the MAP assessments as a universal screener, so it's administered to all students. In the fall, that's grades 1 through 8, and in the winter, that's grades K through 8. Reading, math, and science. And every year prior to this year, we've looked at what percentage of our students are above the 50th percentile. And you would expect that to be about 50%, right? About half our students should be above the 50th percentile. That's what you would expect. We're trying to lift that number up to up as high as we can, and that's going to mean that we're more successful and show growth. What we have found is that we really need to be looking which percentage of our students are above the 60th percentile in order to translate over to success on the state summative assessments. So what we've done now is raise the level of rigor and expectation that we're looking for from our students to get a better correlation and more predictability about their progress. Do you have a question?
Just a quick question, could you clarify what math is?
Math is a computer adaptive assessment. So the students take the assessment on their Chromebooks. We spend a morning doing the reading assessment, another morning doing the math assessment.
Could you tell me what the acronym stands for?
It stands for Measures of Academic Progress, and it's produced by the Northwestern Education Association, or NWEA, out of Portland.
Here's their iWriting program.
Right.
It would be your iWriting program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Norm.
So how do we use and interpret the results? So on a basic level, parents get a report on their student progress against the national norm, which is nice feedback. Also, we look at strengths and weaknesses in our program, which historically English language arts has been a strength, and mathematics has been an area that's needed improvement, but we're seeing growth in mathematics at this time. We can look at trends across grade levels. For example, is the transition to middle school grades, is that not, you can start to fine tune on your program, and then you can track and measure, let's see, I'll point to this slide here. This would be an example protocol that teacher teams would use to review their MAP scores, and we have gone through this process this year, this fall, to really hone in and have teams create a hypothesis on how best to support their students, set goals, and then how are they going to measure their progress at achieving the goals that they've set for their students. And then to connect this to teaching and learning in the classroom, we have transitioned grades K through 8 to standards-based grading and reporting. And so on a deeper level, teacher teams are now looking at their results and considering the rigor of what's happening in the classroom as we move students through a progression of learning towards mastery, with mastery as a goal, mastery of essential learning. How is that now showing in our MAP assessment results from fall to winter? So it's a way to gauge our progress throughout the year. All right, well, that's our quick academic update. Any questions? Or I'll turn it over to Ms. Dolly.
And I will be presenting on behavior and our social and emotional learning program, which is our 10th. So this is just kind of an overview. So when we look at students and we teach to what we call tier 1. So in a general classroom, if we want to teach social skills, we'll go into a class and we'll talk about, hey, what are some choices we can make when we're frustrated on the playground? And we teach it to the whole class. And we can expect about 80% of the students to respond to that first tier 1 lesson. About 20%, and this ranges with every class and every scenario, but 15 to 20% will need an additional exposure, and then around 5% will need tier 3, which is intensive supports. And so we frame our SEL and our behavior program around this approach. We know that we're going to teach lessons tier 1, we're going to give rewards, we're going to use a universal language. If a student comes in the office, I can ask them, what did you do? What should you have done? And they can tell me, I should have ignored or walked away. It's a universal language among the grade levels. But we know that students will respond. So we have a pretty heavy PBIS tier 2 program, and then we also have an extensive tier 3 program. In our PBIS data, this is our what we call triangular data report, and this kind of helps us look at the whole picture of where are our strengths and weaknesses so we can make decisions based on behavior. So last year's data showed that our tier 1 was at 72%, which is a little low. We want that generally above 80%. So what do we need to get tier 1 above 80%? We need to decrease tier 2 and tier 3. So we look at the overview of, hey, were there some students that we missed that we could have gotten into some tier 2 interventions earlier on? And that was the case. So this next year we have action plans in place based on this data that says, hey, we need to start the year off with these students that we know are going to have a tough time transitioning into those immediate tier 2 interventions. And then our tier 3, we were understaffed, as everyone was understaffed last year. So we did have a couple of students who needed tier 3 supports who did not get those supports, who are now getting supports as we're contracting with the county. And then with our SEL data, we switched last year to use Panorama. And what we look for is a pre and post universal screener. And we do have other indicators of data that go along the way. We have attendance reports, we have suspension rates, we have, how many times a kid goes to the nurse's office. Sometimes that could be task avoidance, or it could be that they're feeling upset or frustrated in class. So we do have other measures, but this really kind of just gives us like a snapshot of how our school is feeling in the fall, and then again in the spring, and then again we make data based on those data. We make decisions based on that data. So in the TK through 2, we had high fidelity of counselor-led lessons in the classroom, and I cannot tell you how impactful that was to the student data. So we did not have that fidelity in 3 through 5, and it showed in our pre and post data. So in our 3 through 5, we're going to continue with that fidelity of tier 1 lessons. And again, we're going to look at those early interventions. And then in our 6 through 8, and if anyone can say grade 6 through 8 was their favorite years of ever going to school, you are of a different species, that is for sure, because it is rough. 6 through 8 is rough. It's rough for the kids, the parents, and bless the teachers, the assistant principals, let me tell you about 6 through 8. But we have strengths to really play on. And so when you can see when our number 1 strength in our school is student-teacher relationships, the rest we can kind of, put together, and we can give them those tools, those emotional, regulation tools that they need. But as long as they have a caring adult in their life, we can get them up to speed on the rest of it. So that was like our big takeaway and our big win for our school in 6 through 8. And then another thing was they didn't feel connected to the school. So this year we are in like activity overload. It's like if we could have a club for it, we're gonna have a club for it. Pep club, we're gonna have XLT, we're gonna have, you like shoe club, let's make a shoe club for you. Whatever it is to get you involved in the school to get that school connectedness up. Any questions?
A couple of slides before, when you're talking about tier 3 interventions, you said you're gonna contract with the county. What?
Yeah, so the county has grant money for counseling support. So they basically, we get it at like a prorated cost. So we are increasing our FTE and counseling supports. And this year, we're really focusing on co-teaching with the teachers because we don't think that money is sustainable. So what we can use that grant money for is getting the teachers to co-teach with the teachers so the teachers can then become confident in teaching what those social and emotional skills look like within the classroom.
So we have a 1.0 counselor at TRCS and then we're contracting for a second. So we'll have 2.0 counseling, yeah.
Board, any other questions? Thank you. Excellent report.
I can just say they're doing a good job from what I've seen when I've visited. I enjoy visiting every time.
Yuba-City induction program report.
Yes, we have, Pam was about to introduce, the induction program, but the board had asked that we give updates on programs that you can help, support. So we our induction program, so
Yes, our teacher induction program coordinator, Michelle Stahl is here tonight to share, the program has been in place for 1 full year now, and we've begun our second year. And she's just going to give us an update on where we are so far.
Give me just a second to pull up the.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was wondering that could be something from here. I don't like technology. So while we're waiting, I'm Michelle Stahl. Thank you for your introduction, and I'm excited to share a little bit about our induction program tonight. And Don is in our program, so it's really neat to see him get an award tonight. He's in our year 2 program.
Almost there.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. Wasn't sure if I could see it or not, so we'll see it. Right.
There you go.
Let me make sure.
Oops.
Now I'm gonna have problems with user error.
It's okay. We're good.
All right. Just a quick overview of where we started and where we are now. In 2019, the process started so that we could have our own induction program here in Yuba-City Unified. And in March of 2021, we were approved for our program. Last year, as Pam said, was our first full year of having the program starting. We started with just year 1s, and then this year we have all of our people back in Yuba-City Unified, and we are our own program. I just found out today that we are going to be doing our provisional site visit in 24-25, and after that we'll be fully accredited. So right now we're provisional, and after that visit we'll be fully accredited. So like I said, last year we started small. We started with just year 1s. It kind of let us have a clean break between TSIP and us. They finished with year 2s, that way we didn't have that comparison thing going on. And we had year 1s with us. We built our program. We got feedback from everyone, trying to just really build that inclusion, ownership from all the people who were in the program. This year, everyone is here on site. We have year 1s, year 2s, and we're also kind of working with interns. We have a large population of interns this year, so we're supporting them under the surface. Officially, we can't, but we are. We also have an advisory committee. Part of the original application was to make sure that we have a committee that has input to help us support our program. The advisory committee is comprised of teachers, union members, admin, and then my staff. We also invite IHEs, which are Institutes of Higher Education. We've partnered with, I always say it wrong, I say Brandon. It's University Mass Global now.
It's because they changed their name so many times, how can you not get
It was Chapman when I went there.
I know, right? I don't know, they've had 10 names since then.
So we partnered with them and we invite them to the meetings, and sometimes they can come, sometimes they can't. But we're trying to build those relationships with those universities. Program participation, I wanted to give you some numbers so you can kind of see what we're dealing with.
The first year, we had 23 members that were just working with our program and 2 full-time members. And this year, we have 40 mentors and 2 full-time mentors. Those full-time mentors are also doing partnership with Ed Services. They're helping to support Read 180. They're supporting Study Sync. And anytime a principal calls us and needs something, we jump in and we help. Year 1, we had 41 candidates that year, just the year 1 candidates last year. And I'm happy to say that 36 of them are still with our district. So I was really excited that one of our goals is to keep people, and we were able to keep most of our people, so it's exciting. We have 14 year 1s this year, 36 year 2s, 23 interns this year that we're supporting, and then 6 CTE. CTE is career and technical education at the high school level. So our goals, we are working on student-centered. We want to make sure that we're focusing on what our students are doing. Teacher retention, obviously, and then we want to develop those highly effective teachers. To do that, we've introduced this book. We had our mentors. Last year we purchased this and we were using it to help train our mentors. And it drives the question and the work between the mentor and the candidate with, what do you want your students to be able to do? It's not, I'm sage on the stage, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna save you and make you a better teacher. It's, let's look at what your kids are doing. We look at data, which runs right with our PLCs. Then we decide, what do we want them to be able to do? Design those lessons, plan, teach, reflect, apply. Students improve, teachers improve. Retention. So we're working on supporting those teachers. Professional developments, we're offering those. And this year we have a joint seminar. So we have our induction people come with our mentors, and we have all of the people from the district coming together and sitting in grade levels and collaborating and building that whole support system and sharing ideas. So we had our first one on the 7th. It was really successful, and we're excited about that new model this year. Oh, sorry. No, that's good. They can read, so we're adult learners. It works for me. To support our teachers, we have built a website that's attached to the Yuba-City, our unified school website. You're welcome to look at that. We also have Google Classrooms where we put all of our information so our teachers can access it. TPA and RECA, we had a bunch of teachers that came through because of COVID that got their preliminary credentials and didn't have to take the TPA or the RECA. So the state tasked all induction programs across the whole states to support it. So we've been working to support those people to take their TPAs, to take their RECAs. Those are just a bunch of ways that we've worked on it. We're excited to say that we just partnered with Chico State. They're going to be opening 3 classrooms hopefully soon, and they're going to let us audit the classes. They're not going to be proprietary about the curriculum, so we can go in and learn how they're supporting those teachers and do it here. And also they're going to let our teachers go in and pay for the classes and take them. So we're excited about that for sure. Nikki?
I'm not.
Thank you. She's my Vanna tonight. So it's working. We're excited that the mentor candidates feel supported. Mentors are growing. Part of what we're supposed to do with our program preconditions and standards is to develop mentors. So we make sure that we build in training for our mentors and we're building them up. Amy's hiding in the back. Amy is my wonderful resource. She's getting a master's degree in coaching, and so she does a lot of work with our coaches, and it's amazing what she does with them. And then we're really excited that we had 99% of our teachers finish cycle 1 the whole first year. They were successfully completing it, so they have 1 year of induction under their belt, and they can follow them wherever they go. And how do we know? Go ahead, next one. I think it says talking. No? That's all right. The next 3 slides are just data to show you how we know. So we have to send out a survey twice a year as part of what we've agreed to do with the state to get feedback, and we want the feedback to grow our program. That one slide that you have a picture of shows we polled the candidates. How do you feel supported? Oh, yeah, hands up. And overwhelmingly, they felt supported. Okay. The next slide, we polled the mentors. We wanted to make sure that they felt like they were getting what they needed from Amy, who's amazing, and Lori, my other one who's not here tonight. And overwhelmingly, they're feeling like they're getting the last one. We also wanted to get feedback from our admin, because they're part of our triad, our triangle that we want to get input from. And we asked how they felt the teachers did being supported by our program. And we broke it down into management, instructional strategies, engagement, and that differentiation piece. And you can see all of them are positive. There was not any no improvement. So we were really encouraged by that for our first year. Okay, and that's it. Any questions for me?
Or do you have any questions? You said that we have 41 and 36.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, that's all we had 41 and then 36 stayed. So do you have a sense on why they didn't stay?
So 3 were not re-elected,
Okay.
and the rest, I've talked to them just because I want to touch in. One lives in Chico, didn't want to drive back and forth. He got a job up there because gas prices were killing him. Same thing down south.
Okay.
So it's mostly that they wanted to get a job closer to where they were. Yeah.
And then the other one. Oh no, that was just a comment. Never mind.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
I went through the induction program, but obviously.
It was probably bits of the town, right?
No,
No?
it wasn't. It was an induction program, but through the county office. When you finish your first year, did you score like your IOP, I believe it is? And based on what score you get, you can finish your second year possibly earlier. Do we have any sense of like what are year one candidates, like where they're falling within that score? I know there's passing and then there's like, it's passing like a 3 and then 4 or 5 or.
So it's a formative assessment, and what we do is when they submit something, they have the rubric. We will give comments, feedback, send it back, have them fix it, work with their coach. We'll go in and help them coach with their coach and get that up where it needs to be, because it's all about the conversation and about improving their teaching. So they resubmit it. So basically, we want to set them up to pass no matter what. The ECO option that you're talking about, that has to be in our program. And so when a teacher comes in and they've had a bunch of experience, that kind of thing, they can apply for ECO. I have 2 this year. And we have a process that they go through, and we're gonna be going out and doing some observations soon of their teaching. They have to submit letters of recommendation, they have to prove that they have 3 years prior teaching experience, and then they can become part of the ECO process.
So it's different than probably the process.
It's different than what it used to be, yeah.
Okay.
They've changed some of the parameters for how the programs run. With the TPAs, I don't know if you're familiar with TPAs, it's that teacher performance expectation test. It's really involved. They have to write pages upon pages of how they're meeting the needs of all these kids. So when they come to us, we want it to be about the mentorship and the conversations, because they've done all that hard work.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item is the consent agenda. We will look at that, but we're pulling 12B.
Yes.
Any questions on the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Please note that Mr. Tackard and his committee are not present.
Thank you.
12B, Jen?
I'd like to abstain.
Okay. It's only for an abstention, so may we have a motion and a second on 12B?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, abstained?
Aye.
We have one abstention. Next item are action items, starting with student cases, we had one.
Any motion that we approve is discussed in closed session.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Again, please note that Liddy and Tackart are not present. 13B,
Need to abstain.
this one as well.
Good evening, this is the annual contracts for students participating in non-public schools through our district.
Any questions on 13B? If not, may we have a motion?
Any motion we approve 13B.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second on 13B, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
C, we have one speaker that wants to address 13C. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President.
13C is hiring of short-term classified employees. Please continue.
So although this isn't one of my bargaining unit members nor job, this has to do with bus driver trainer and hiring a short-term bus driver trainer. And I just, I know you can't answer me, but first of all, it's $6 an hour seems like an awful lot. I'm not sure if our trainer makes that much, but I'm sure that she would like to. And the second is by hiring this short-term person, is that going to allow our current trainer to train our bus drivers in the field trip training and the different trainings that they desperately need and have been asking for? So that's my food for thought.
I'll just explain. So, everybody can move on?
Yes,
Okay.
is
So,
this in reference to 13?
13C, I just want to give the board a little explanation of what we're doing here. Obviously, the board's well informed, and I think the community that we have a shortage of bus drivers. This is really kind of looking at different ways to get bus drivers trained up as fast as possible. So this allows us to piece together some instruction for our bus drivers to move through the process as fast as possible.
Yes.
Scott, currently, how many trainees are there?
Great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I can follow up with the board.
For me, I feel like, I apologize, I should have asked that question prior to this. But that's, my vote, it pertains to that, so.
More than we have to pass it. This will help us get bus drivers quicker and more routes going faster.
Any other questions?
I'm confused now.
Okay.
Mercedes' statement on the fact that we have a trainer, but now we're gonna hire another trainer to get the people through.
Correct.
And it's more than what we're paying our trainer now.
That is correct.
That confuses me.
I think the question they're asking is why.
To attract the short-term nature and kind of off-schedule nature of the duties that they'll be performing.
Are those duties, I'm sorry,
Jennifer,
Justin, are those duties different from what the current trainer's doing?
No, they're kind of pieced together. So one trainer's going to do some of them, and the other trainer's going to do some of the other parts.
would it be possible, actually, maybe if we can, is it possible to pull this item and maybe we can ask more questions, if it's more relevant? 'Cause I do have some follow-up questions just based on the.
Yes, we could, of course we could do that. Well,
I think that, tell us the urgency, give us an understanding of if we pull at the impact.
It will.
The concern of the board is we have, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a person already on the payroll who's gonna make less, or who's making.
That person has a full-time job, has pension, has benefits. These people will not have those.
So they can make it more hourly, but it's not have all the perks.
Correct.
Is it possible to timesheet person to be now and possibly have less of a fiscal impact to the board or to the school? Also, is it possible? I don't know.
I mean, the person's already a full-time employee. I'm sorry, what's the question?
I'll make you understand.
Like overtime, like could we, outside of those hours, is that possible to train?
Yes, everything's possible.
Is that current employee?
Time sheet.
Yeah, but I guess that's kind of your guys' question. My question is more like, for me, I'd like to know how many people we have going through the process to see if it's necessary. There we go. If it's necessary.
We have roughly 20 vacancies right now, and we don't have the capacity to manage those.
I understand the vacancy piece, but that doesn't mean that we have 20 trainees at this moment,
That's true.
right? So that's what I'm saying. That's my question.
So the director of the department has requested additional support to provide training to the folks that we have in the pipeline to bring on board. With the current capacity of training, we cannot get them, we cannot build them. We can't get those who are in the line to become drivers behind the wheel as quickly as we would like. And so this is a short-term support to that process. We're bringing in some outside folks who have that expertise to add to our training capacity for this short period of time. That will get some more drivers behind the wheel more quickly.
So what I can also say is, we will absolutely use our current employee to the fullest extent, and only these, to increase our training capability to bring bus drivers on faster.
So, Scott, the question I have is though, the board is approving the position, and it may not be that you pull the trigger tomorrow, it may be that, is the intent that you're going to do it immediately, or is it?
My understanding of the situation is if we do it tomorrow, if possible, it'll increase the speed of us being able to get bus drivers trained and my understanding is.
So you're saying we have bus drivers in line and you need this extra trainer to train them, to get them on the road?
That's what I'm saying.
And the trainer that we have currently can't do it all?
Not as quickly.
Right.
Why?
Capacity issues, I don't know.
I think the objective is to get as many bus drivers on the road as quickly
I
as
get
possible.
the objective, I'm
And-
just concerned about pulling someone from the outside against someone we already have.
Maybe it would be nice, maybe if we pull this item,
Well,
maybe it'd be nice.
Well, it's
to
gonna
do
be,
it
it's
here.
gonna be that much longer for, train, but my
we
concern
need
is
to
the way
talk
we're doing
this
it.
out. No, it's okay, I mean, but I think if the goal is to get more drivers on the road as quickly as possible, what's the other option? Because if we pull it now, unless I call a special meeting, it's gonna be another 2 weeks.
I understand that, but I guess the question that I don't have quite answered yet is how many trainees we have currently that are in the process where it would be dependent on this particular person. Not so much, obviously pay and whatnot, but I guess that's kind of what's in the back of my mind. And I apologize, I should have asked that.
So my basic on the recommendation or the request for this, it was based upon the fact that there was a need there in terms of getting people trained.
Correct.
How many people have been trained thus far? Do we know? Up until this point?
Trainers in the audience.
Pardon?
Trainers in the audience. That might be the answer to these questions.
I understand, but I don't think, Brown graphics, I don't know.
So when we looked at hiring another person, like, did we look at a timeline of how, because to me, if you're gonna bring somebody else on, you have a general idea of what the timeline looks like and how soon you would need to bring somebody else on board. Did we look at a timeline to say we would like 20 drivers available and effective by October 30th? And the current trainer,
So,
how long is the training? Maybe that's what we
Yeah.
need. How long is the training?
so from beginning to end for a training process.
To be able to get behind the wheel?
So I don't know the exact amount of time it takes to take a training through. I know there's a good deal of hours that it's required. There's in-seat time, there's behind the wheel time that needs to be completed. And we don't, to set a goal like that is maybe not in line with what our reality is, because that would assume that we have 20 trainees ready to go and we can start them and get them through the process and they would be all set. We don't have that many applicants to say that. So I think the intent of this short-term piece is to say, hey, as we have a need that we cannot fulfill
Is it
with our
one-on-one
current training
training?
level.
Is it one-on-one?
Some of it is.
Can you appreciate why the board's a little bit confused? If it's not one-on-one training, can a trainer maybe Jasmine's right, we should have had this conversation before, but it's in open session now, so, if you can train 5 people on seat time, I don't know. Classroom, yeah.
I'm sure you do more, but yeah.
I see some interesting body language in there.
I
So,
do too.
something,
But, well, yeah, but these are questions that need to be answered for the board by Scott or by Mr. Reed.
We can pull this, my understanding was that the task was to get bus drivers in here and train as fast as possible, and that was the direction that we were going with this. But we can pull this and answer the questions and do it in a couple weeks.
The board understands the need to hire bus drivers as quickly as possible. I think the issue though, for some, is the fairness, well, I'm not gonna speak for the board because we've already said, I think the pay and I think there are just some other issues.
I know we got an email, and I apologize, did not see it prior to this, so I don't know if this pertains to that or not. But I see some interesting body language again, and maybe I should see that email.
Well, body language given, we need to make sure that everyone has a basic understanding of what the end goal is. To me, Mr. Reed, it would be important to know a timeline for getting these people trained and how long it takes so that we would have a better understanding of the need for that second person. And that is really the question here. What is the need for a second person? And I don't think, and you guys correct me if you're wrong, I don't think we have an understanding of why there is a need.
I don't.
Is that?
Yeah, I think that's what Scott is referring to when he says we can get answers to the questions now that we know what they are.
Okay.
And bring those forward. It is, to this point, we count on our administrative team or our director of the department to tell us what her needs are, and that's what she's done. And so we work closely with her to find the resources, in this case, trainers, to add to our capacity so we can get folks who have applied to be bus drivers behind the wheel quicker.
How many applications do you have?
For new applicants? Those types of questions, I mean, if you ask me those before I come in here, I can get those answers to you and help you with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be happy to bring those.
Yeah, we're gonna pull the item and in some discussions with Mr. Reed and Scott, if it looks like they can answer those questions for us, we can always call a special meeting so that we don't delay getting bus drivers trained as quickly as possible. Does that sound reasonable to you guys?
Yes.
So we're gonna pull that.
Thank you.
Adoption of the GAN appropriation limit, 13D.
So this is a standard yearly report after we close the books. The unaudited actuals will be approved in the next item. Essentially, this is the GAN limit was established in 1978-79, and essentially gives a cap on state and local government spending, adjusted for population and inflation. And this is just a required report. We are under that limit. There's no issues.
Which you need approval for
We do need
13D.
And it's a resolution.
Yes. We need approval for Board Resolution 2223-014. Are there any questions, Board? If not, may we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2 board members are not present. 13E.
This is our unaudited actuals, and I kind of looked at past practice. Past practice, we have not really included the entirety of the unaudited actuals for board approval. It's just a style preference, I guess, but this is what I think is the appropriate thing to do. So I've included the entire unaudited actuals. It is a big, long, SACS forms kind of confusing mess.
Yeah.
So I did a handout, just a little summary of that, so you can kind of get an idea of how we close the year for 21-22, and what I'm referring to is this right there.
It is a big.
Yes.
Thank you
I know.
for summarizing.
I had to go through it.
Of course, I know that, I figured.
Sorry.
So, a couple things just to point out on this. I'm not gonna go through all these numbers. I highlighted the unrestricted column because that is truly the health of the district. That takes away out all the restricted one-time money and really looks at where we are at the end of the day on our unrestricted funding sources. And a couple things I'm gonna point out is if you look down all the way kind of close to the bottom where it's, say 3 lines up from the bottom, it says net increase or decrease. You see a positive number there of $6.8 million there, and that we consider, we call it a surplus. There's kind of an asterisk on this number, and that is we did not spend all of our supplemental concentration dollars last year. So those dollars we need to spend in this next year. And as we've presented in a lot of the financials, we are dealing with a lot of different funding sources, new programs, COVID fundings, ESSER fundings. And so as far as financial strategy for the district, what we really try to do is spend our most restricted dollars first. So we've used a lot of these, restricted dollars to fund a lot of things that are eligible for that we may have otherwise spent in supplemental concentration, these funds right here. I just want to kind of warn that those numbers, that's not a true surplus. That is a number that we actually have to spend this next year. Besides that, there are some differences between, I would say, supply services and capital outlay between the last time we reported on these numbers, and that was when we did the budget adoption for back in June for 22-23. We included what we think we're going to end 21-22 with. And really, we spent less. Again, it's a supply services and capital outlay. A lot of that is on the restricted side. COVID projects or projects that we're going to fund with these COVID dollars. We did a lot, but we pushed some of it into the 22-23 year. So we just kind of moved it to next year. But besides that, the numbers are in order. The district is in good financial health, and we are ending our unrestricted ending fund balance with $21 million there. But again, a portion of that is going to be spent in this next year.
Take a bonus check if you want to get rid of some of that.
I don't have those.
Right.
Well, take ours.
Any questions, board? If not, may I have a motion to approve 13E? That was second.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 2 not present. We have a speaker for 13F. Somebody?
Good evening, board members and staff. I'm gonna be very short and brief tonight. Cindy Storm, I know, it's not good. First, before I speak on this particular agenda item, I just wanna let y'all know, and let Ms. Superintendent Rosumi know, I'm really grateful that she reached out to me personally about the topic I was here for last time. And I'm hoping that that's ultimately gonna get resolved, but I do appreciate her willingness to reach out and communicate and follow up on the items that I had sent in. As for this agenda item, the purchasing of, more purchasing of furniture for the district office, I'm assuming this is for the new district office that you guys are gonna be, that the DO, upper parts of the DO are gonna be moving over to at the, I believe, Plymouth Street location. You guys have it says here that the amount for this purchase for new DO office equipment is $139,901.52. And it also says in the staff report on this that it's a government purchasing cooperative and that would be the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. And because this furniture would be purchased through there, the district isn't required to put it up for bid or get multiple quotes. But why not? Like really, it's tax dollars, it's money that you're spending. Just because you have it, you don't have to get multiple quotes, doesn't mean you shouldn't. You're just automatically gonna say, okay, well, approximately $140,000 sounds like a good number for DO furniture. That's all, thank you.
Do we have the staff report?
Yeah. So I just wanna, we are making this move in what we consider a very economical way. This building was move-in ready. We're able to purchase existing furniture at a substantial discount, but we do have some things that have to happen. And to be honest, they would have to happen whether it was over there or over here. There's a lot of dilapidated stuff here. I also want to remind the board, we are spending between $12 and $15 million on classroom furniture, $5 million on shade structures, and about $8 million on playgrounds. So I just want everybody to understand that it's all relative. Most of the stuff that we're doing is out of the school side. That is absolutely our priority. This is just to make sure that we can get our staff, our district staff into safe working conditions, which they currently are not in. So that's the reason for it. We do, but I'm going to prepare the community and or this is one piece of it. We're going to bring another MOU to purchase the existing furniture at the new building, and again, that is probably about at a 50% or less, more of a discount. And then there's going to be some additions that are going to happen here. Again, these are the things to make this district office run.
The co-op, what's the name of the program again?
So, and I can speak to that. I mean, I understand we don't actually answer public comment, but this is relative to our purchasing procedures here. And
because it's my understanding that sometimes cooperatives go out and look for the best.
This has gone out to public bid. We are doing what's called a piggyback bid. It's already been out to bid. So the prices have been competitively bid, and we are able to obtain those prices. So it has gone out to public bid.
The reason I asked that question is because when I was with the governor's office, we did that a lot. We relied on agencies that had already gone out as cooperatives to get the best bang for the buck, Cindy. And the reason is this: when they know you're looking for furniture and stuff, the prices go up. So these types of organizations go out and do that for you and bring back the best bid. Is that explained?
Another question.
Sure.
So can you kind of elaborate on, I think most of the board members took a tour of the facility, and it had a lot of cubicles, like cubicle space area, things like that. My understanding was that we would want to keep that furniture so that way it just streamlines the movement process. I'll be honest, I wasn't anticipating a build this large for additional furniture, so could you please elaborate on maybe?
I'll be honest too, I didn't either. When you get into a project like this is a major task, and so I will do my best to answer this question, but if the board will also recognize my question just in case just in case I don't get everything right, that would be wonderful. So we did tour the building. It didn't come with everything, so it didn't come with office chairs. We have to reconfigure some of the arrangements to fit how our departments lay out. So there's some work there. And I know there's more to it that I'm just not getting. Is there anything else?
Yeah, we have to add additional 10 workstations.
10
which is in there.
workstations, thank you.
As well as all the chairs. The chairs, they're not included with purchase. And also we're adding in the ergonomic chairs and also articulated keyboards, so the workstations are set up ergonomically more correct than the employees are in right now. That will help prevent future injuries or anything in the workstations.
And this also kind of speaks to what the discount that we're getting on the existing stuff. We'll bring that back and say, oh, for 40 workstations, it's like $90,000. So I mean, it's still not, this stuff's not cheap, but it's we're getting a really good deal on that.
And also the 2 conference rooms, tables.
That's right. Outfitting a couple.
And I was just gonna say, and to transform this building for these people that are in the cubicle, I mean, in the portables back here, we have to create some classrooms and some IT areas, correct?
So that's the other piece.
So that
of it.
is gonna cause us to remodel this building.
Not really. So our goal is really
Well,
not
I mean,
to do.
move the interior.
Yeah. So
Right.
so it's more workspace spaces. It's not really moving walls and that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's not that.
I knew that part was happening. I was judged when I thought there was furniture already there, but I didn't. That's, yeah.
And if you also, I mean,
And Walker does do a good job of going out.
I think at least one of you have toured the offices over there. You can kind of see the mismatch and kind of janky layout that is over there. So it just needs an upgrade. So,
Yeah, I get it.
decades old.
Well, I think that stuff just needs to stay there with
Yeah.
the exposure. Just leave it there.
Any additional questions on 13E?
When is
Go
the
ahead.
proposal to, proposed date to shift?
What's that? When
When's
we,
the proposed date to make the shift?
it's in November 11th.
Start effective that following.
So, well, it's a plan, and so
Good luck.
we have a lot of technology that has to, get all the phones and workstations working and things move, so
I'm just gonna say I'm sorry.
the plan is
horrible
November
when it's
11th,
school
yeah.
What's the, sorry, this is just a question that came up for me. I remember when you brought up technology, so is that another MOU another bid that we're gonna be getting or updating technology there? I know when we toured some of the TVs or whatever.
The monitors are, we did purchase the monitors, so we'll have to replace that, but all the wiring stays. We have our servers and all that kind of stuff that we can move over. But as you do any kind of transition, there's probably gonna be something, I just don't know quite.
Or the monitors not usable?
They had a use for them, and to be honest with you, the price was too steep, so we decided to make a different decision.
And the wiring should all be there, but when you get into electronics and equipment, there's always some.
There's always some.
Oh, your IT department knows something about that.
Who's the board on item 13F?
Make a motion with passing. There's not much we can do.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve 13F. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 13G, you visited flooring,
This is
that will last.
yes, we've had failed flooring there, so this is a proposal to replace that flooring.
Do they have any kind of
I'm sorry,
guarantee on the
hold
last
on.
one?
My understanding is the company went out of business. Go figure.
Wasn't that lovely?
Tell me, John.
I have a quick question.
Certainly.
How many bids do we have on this job?
So we ended up with 2 bids, but same thing, we went through the price agreements, which allows, they do, it's really based on square footages. And when they do the price agreements, they look at mass quantities of volume. So they're able to give us better pricing than if we do individual bids. So this is actually a good pricing. And you compare the two, actually, we went through 2 price agreements and we ended up with the one with better price, so we went.
Did any of our local contractors bid on this?
No, they did not. And I was really seeking out the method and process of how to seal the floor was more important than the flooring down. So we're doing a lot of research on this, and the company that we selected has a history of sealing the floor so we don't have this problem in the future. That became more of a problem at this point.
When we have, aren't local vendors always aware that it's out?
Yeah, and we've been using local vendors heavily. We did this last summer.
I'm asking that question because I don't want anybody, especially board members, to think that local vendors don't know.
No,
There's a bid out there.
Yeah,
They
and
know.
this last summer, we used local vendors a lot to do a lot of floor repairs and then replacing floors in classrooms. So we kept them.
can't control whether they bid or not.
Yeah, I know we use local vendors. I was just curious, it's a big ticket item, so it'd be nice to supply our own local contractors.
Correct, and we do.
Yeah, it would be nice, but they have to turn in a bid.
Oh, I know. I'm asking, just asking.
Okay.
Any opportunity we have, we can use them, and they're aware of our budget.
So, any other questions? Yeah.
No.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve 13G. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board reports and information. Do we have any committee meetings?
No, in fact, I was gonna say, Mark, there was a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight, well, not a lot, but some on your department. And we haven't had a meeting in a while, so I think it might be a good time to have another one and update us on all the stuff that's going on here.
Okay, I'll work with Scott.
Okay. Scott, would you say no?
Personnel committee members. Do you want a personnel, pardon?
Give me a Shelley.
Yeah, I know.
She's just making sure that everybody knows it.
Would you like to have a personnel? I'll get with Mark and get back to that. It's good for you. I don't. Okay, any other committee reports? Communications, do we have any? Comments from employee representatives?
Oh, Mercedes
We're
is
just gonna
up
start
there, guys.
flipping a coin.
This
is up next.
Well, good evening again, I am Mercedes Geraldo and I represent our classified unit here at Yuba City Unified. And I don't really have a whole lot to say. First of all, I wanna say congratulations. Sal, you are the mayor of Yuba City Unified. And you Heidi do an amazing job for food service, and Dawn, I got to work with Dawn when he was up here too, so, and we worked with him over summer school every now and then when he's outside, so he's a great asset to our community, and he did some great choices picking out, or however your selection process is, so congratulations to all of us. I actually spoke to Mark right before we came in, and this is pretty exciting that CSCA, as you know, always likes to offer training to our members that is pertinent to them. And last year, for the first time in our M&O Academy, which usually is in the spring, they offered the OSHA 10 certification, which is a lifetime certification. This is being brought back in late October. So I sent Mark the information. Members are gonna have to sign up on their own, but it's only $25, so I do encourage the district to invest in that and invest in our M&O folks that is willing to give up a weekend to go get this training because it's gonna follow and it's gonna be great. I can't say more about that, so please support that, and Mark, I sent you the email, so we'll work through that. And I think that's all I have this evening, so I think we just made it through almost through our first 6 weeks of school. which seems like it's 6 years of school, but I hope it to slow down a little bit and get a little calm. So, thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, Neil Lipkins, President of Yuba-Sutter Teachers Association, and good evening, board members, staff, and hey, we got an audience today, as well as those folks out in Toonland. A couple things I want to call your attention to. Among other exciting things happening this year, teachers are beginning to plan for shade. We're going back outside and taking kids away from home. This is truly exciting. The difference is, as fifth grade teachers talk to me, it's been a long time since they've been. An awful lot of new fifth grade teachers who've never been before. That's a lot to plan. There's a lot of planning that goes into taking fifth graders to shade tree. So hoping to continue to work with them to support their efforts to safely and educate our students out there at Shady Creek. Also want to focus in on preschool and TK. Yuba-Sutter has always offered preschool and child care for our community. State preschool at any of our local schools. State preschool does an AM and a PM session and allows those students to have access to preschool. Because we know that early education helps students to succeed. In addition, we've also always offered childcare at Nard Street, which allows a full day of childcare almost every work day of the year. A couple of holidays where they're closed down. But some exciting things happen. So in our preschool program, or our child care program, there are two classes of employees. There are classified employees who are teacher aides, and then there are certificate employees who are teachers in the preschool program. But many of those classified preschool aides are also qualified to be teachers. So it's an interesting program with some interesting dynamics, but that program has always functioned well to deliver services to our students. Then along comes TK. So TK, at one point we were calling JCAN. I'm just glad we got away from that just kidding idea, because we're serious about TK. So TK is now wide open. We have TK at every school site now, with some add-ons, and Ed Services had to do some quick acting to get a teacher at every one of those TK sites. What that meant was some of our own got hired to move from their child care preschool position into a differently certificated position, operating on a different pay scale. So this was a great opportunity for those folks to move up. And then it also meant that there was some preschool shuffling to go around, and some of our classified preschool aides could move up to teaching positions. So these are exciting times for our youngest learners. So I just wanted to highlight those folks today. And I want to highlight one other group, actually I have two other groups, YCIA. Wow, we all keep trying to figure out what are the changing rules for independent study, what are the changing rules for what we did at distance learning versus what we're now doing independent study. So YCIA continues to work diligently to address the needs of those students in independent study program. It's particularly challenging in our K-5 where there's still a requirement for daily live instruction and delivering the equivalent of the same number of minutes as our kids would have if they were out at one of our school sites. Currently, that work is done by one teacher, Sheree Phillips. Sheree is amazing and does an amazing job doing everything she can to meet the needs of 6 grade levels worth of students. That's a lot. So shout out to Sheree, who continues to do it with, she's working really long hours, but that's because Sheree's not going to let any kid fall behind. So thank you to Sheree.
Should you need one of these one of these care forms, isn't it?
Oh, yes. That's perfect. And, but Sheree is awesome. It's been my pleasure to work with Sheree. She originally was in Bridge Street and moved over to IA last year. Our 9-12 teachers continue to work with how do we deliver all of this in terms of, there's a lot of paperwork to submit for independent study in terms of logging minutes, and so those folks continue to work hard to try and figure out how to address the needs of all those students delivering multiple different courses and tracking their attendance and the work that they get done. Because our attendance in that case is based on student work.
as opposed to our attendance at the rest of our schools is based on if they show up, whether they did work or not. And that's a whole nother disappointment I'll talk about at another time, because our kids are still struggling there. But I want to talk about our K-5 teachers next. K-5 teachers are some of the hardest working folks around. They teach 325 minutes every day, except for minimum days. And on those days, they try and teach it all still and then collaborate together in the afternoon. They've always done all that work, and now they're engaged in multiple assessments with iReady, fluency testing, chapter assessments. They got a lot on their plate to assess students to help figure out what are the gaps we've got to fill in. They're continuing to do intervention. They're adding regrouping and ELE time, and regrouping for math, and regrouping for ELA supports. That fast to meet the needs of all our students. So thank you to our K-5 teachers. And then I'd like to thank this board for asking some of the questions to focus on how do we take the work here in Yuba-Sutter Unified. We've got great people working for Yuba-Sutter Unified. Let's try and do everything we can to make sure that any work that needs to be done is done by Yuba-Sutter Unified employees. And then finally, I'd like to address one other issue. This board used to answer questions. I've sat in board meetings for the last 15 years plus. And it used to be an interactive process. You used to listen to members of the community, and they didn't even necessarily need to put in a paper. They raised their hand, and when you presented unaudited actuals or the budget, members of the audience could ask questions to clarify. Because tonight I might have asked a question about the fact that while the revenue for Yuba-Sutter Unified went up by 22% in the predicted for next year's budget, the salaries for certificated staff are going down by 6.3%. I might have asked why we were told there might be declining enrollment last year, and this year when I look at the paperwork, it appears that the ADA for last year was 10,448, and this year the ADA is set at 11,156. Maybe I'm reading something wrong, so I would have been asked that question. I might also have asked why there's a requirement for a cost of education for compensation for the classroom, and the minimum for a unified district is 55%. That is 55% of the expenditures or revenue, I'm not sure which way that's calculated, would be spent on compensation. Yuba-Sutter Unified is at 57.57%. I think I might have asked, why is that number so low compared to just barely meeting the minimum threshold when investing in our classrooms is one of our highest priorities. So I would just hope we eventually get back to a place where this is a more interactive process involving your community, your constituency, and your employees. So thank you.
Comments from board members?
I have a couple comments. We had a presentation on the CARE program that we're enacting. I know members of the board have talked about exit surveys as well when we have employees leave the district. Kind of to piggyback off of or on that, I would really like to advocate for having employee surveys department-wide, whether it's department, site, whatnot, to really be able to identify the needs from the, I hate to word it like this, but from the bottom up, you know, from the foundation up. I think that's a more appropriate way of saying it. You know, you have, those are your building blocks, you build on top of that. And so I think that it's important for us to be able to see what the needs are. And to me personally, I feel like that'll guide what I view as maybe a high priority when we're redoing our board priorities and things like that. Additionally, I think I'd just like to advocate for maybe another discussion on committees. Obviously, we're coming back from COVID. The needs have shifted within our district. And so maybe it might be relevant to have, to restructure our committees maybe. So we can maybe, Doreen and I can sit down and kind of elaborate on, or I can elaborate on kind of my thought process on that.
And then bring it back to the board.
Yeah. And then lastly, I just want to go to what Dina had mentioned when it comes to teachers in general, but specifically K-5 teachers. This is my second year teaching 3rd through 5th grade. And I will say that this is probably the hardest year, academically, social emotionally. My incoming third graders are the third graders that were impacted in their foundational years, their kindergarten, first grade year. And I think being a middle school teacher, now being a true like elementary school teacher, I took a lot for granted. Like the way kids are, and things that they know, social emotionally, like manners, grit. I mean, as a middle school teacher, I mean, I love middle school, but I just took a lot of that stuff for granted. And now that I'm in those shoes and I'm seeing the effects of COVID, or just in general, maybe I'm getting a better glimpse of elementary school, I have a different appreciation for those teachers, especially when they have one prep week, but that's another issue. So I just wanted to commend teachers in general, but especially our elementary teachers, so. That's it.
Any other comments? I think, do you have a report on that school? What school burned? Forest Hill did burn down. So that school was destroyed, so we're sending a lot of people from my fire academy up there to help, but we just can't fill the need because every time the wind changes, something else is threatened. So right now, what our fear is at my organization is that it'll jump the highways, and it can do that. It only takes a spark to jump the highway to cause more damage. So keep us in the prayer. Any other comments? Superintendent?
Thank you. I just want to reiterate the good work that's happening now at the school sites by both classified and certificated staff. It's been nice now to get back out into classrooms, and teaching and learning is going on. Yes, we have families and students that are struggling, but our staff is doing an amazing job meeting those needs. And again, it's fun to see and just to hear students' conversations is fun to hear. And then I also want to thank Michelle and the induction program. They took a vision that took 2 years in planning with Dina and I've been talking about this for years in terms of bringing an induction program to Yuba-Sutter Unified to meet the needs of our staff. And it took 2 years of planning and writing, and it's here and it's moving along, and that is just something to be very proud of. A lot of districts don't do that, but we really did want to tailor the program to meet the needs of our teachers and our staff so that because that'll help. So thank you to everyone who's working really hard to make it happen in our classrooms and our schools. So thank you, everyone.
Also, you have in front of you, board members, the exit interview. Would you take a look at that?
It's a printed version of what is actually an online form. So that
Right.
isn't the exact form. That isn't how it looks, because it wouldn't be provided in paper unless somebody
Okay.
asked for it.
Because I just had some concerns. It's pretty much like a survey, right? So if you have any, if you would look at it and have any feedback to give to the superintendent or Mr. Reed, would you do that, please? The next board meeting is September, 2 weeks from today.
September 27th.
September 27th.
Yes.
And so, we should have a full board by then. Yeah, well, I may be in treatment, so, Mr. Tackart will take over the meetings if I am, so. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, board.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake. where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.